Well, good day, everybody, and welcome back to Notes from the Pastor Cave. We are not quite at 50 videos, but we are getting very, very close, and I'm really excited for that. Doors open again, some sunshine out there, and so a little bit of light being shed on the Pastor Cave, and which is always a good thing. Sometimes I get in here and I'm working, and I realize that I haven't, really experienced the outdoors in quite a long time. So, which I think is true of, it's certainly true of a lot of pastors at a lot of places. There's other professions too, I'm sure, but it's true of definitely true of a lot of pastors I know. I'm gonna start out by doing something that I'm not even sure it's YouTube legal. I'm pretty sure it's legal, but I'm going to do a little bit of an unsolicited endorsement, and so I've never done an unsolicited endorsement except maybe a book review before. But I had a little dilemma a few weeks ago. I think I mentioned in the last video that my wife and I were going to be traveling, and we were going to go and hang out with family in Florida. And we're the family. We're a musical bunch, and so we were taking a super duper discount airline, which kind of nickeled and dimed you for every single package and bag that you brought on board. So my brothers were bringing guitars, and they were talking about bringing some little drums somehow, and things like that. Particularly one brother was trying to figure out how he's going to get all this on the plane without costing him too much of a fortune. And so I started looking around to see how I might help out in this situation. And I do a little tiny bit of percussion once in a while. And I have a wonderful box drum, but that wasn't appropriate because that would have been actually an extra piece of luggage that to go down and back would have cost me almost as much as the drum itself cost. So I started looking around for something. And I found this. It's a wooden box drum, what we call a box drum, but it's quite small. And I figured out that if I bought this, that I'd probably be able to fit it into my luggage. And you can see that it's made of wood, beautiful wood, and has sound holes in the bottom. And it just has a wonderful. So I'm not really going to demonstrate per se, but this strap here, because you kind of hold it like a bongo between your knees. And one of the things, if you've ever played any bongo for any length of time, is that part of your body starts to get kind of sore if you're squeezing these bongos in between your knees. So so this company has come up with this idea of putting this strap that goes around your back, so it still hangs in front of you. In the same way that bongos would, they're right there in the same place, but the strap holds everything in place. So it's minimal squeezing from the knees that has to take place, and so it's a very very clever thing, and it can be played with a bongo sound. Like that, but also it's got a little snare unit in it too that you can turn on. You get this sound instead, that kind of a thing. So so again, the company is Sawtooth, and really cool stuff, really quality item, and little added bonus, it's got that great wood smell to it, which is just one of those things that's kind of second to none. All right, we last time around I talked to you about a little phrase out of Exodus 15 and verse 22. It says Moses made Israel set out from the Red Sea, and they went into the wilderness of Shur. Okay, so and that's the context of what we were talking about is that is that the Israelites experienced this amazing miracle at the Red Sea. My collar keeps getting funny here. The amazing miracle at the Red Sea. And then they have a party afterwards. They're so happy to have been delivered from the attack of Pharaoh, and rightly so, right? You'd be excited too. But then the problem is that they kind of want to stay there, and it's up to Moses to see the big picture and to see, yes, we've had this miracle, we had this great thing happen for our lives, but there is a point at which we can stay too long at a place like that. Even though it's a good thing, even though it's a wonderful thing, even though it's a miraculous thing, there's still a point at which we can stay in one place too long in our spiritual journey. So it's up to Moses to speak into the lives of the Israelites. Say, hey, we got to get going. It says he made Israel. He as the leader, he says, look, I'm the boss. We're going to move, and sure enough, he gets them to move on. Okay. And so that was very much the tone or the project of the last video. Okay, but I also have this note to myself, that Moses is the big picture guy here. He has to remember that there is a destination that's down the road. Okay, and then I have this other note that I stuck there. It says that miracles should prepare us for greater challenges. Miracles should prepare us for greater challenges, and we get focused very much on the miracle and what it does in its immediacy for us. In other words, at one time I had a really, really bad lower back that had given me problems for decades. And it was so bad. I was at the point I was working a medium labor job, and it got to the point where it was so bad that I was actually considering quitting. Trying to go on some kind of disability, unemployment kind of thing, because I was just in pain all day, every day, and it was, of course, worse when I was at work. Okay, so when that miracle happened in my life, and maybe I'll explain the whole thing someday, but when that miracle happened in my life, and I no longer had that issue, you can, okay, here's the miracle, here's the previous condition, I'm not in pain anymore, and that's really what you kind of focus on. But what I want to show you here today is that there's more beyond that, because when we experience the miraculous in our lives, when we experience a supernatural move of God in some way, there's also an aspect in which God is trying to prepare us for other things down the road, prepare us for other challenges that are down the road, and that's definitely what's happened here. What's happened here is that the Red Sea, even though it's this great miracle, no one would ever take away from that. That was meant not to have them stop and go, oh, we're just going to celebrate our great miracle for the rest of our lives. It was meant for them to use as a tool of faith so that they could then go on and experience the next miracle, and go on and experience the next miracle and the next miracle after that. And that you string enough of those along, even in a difficult situation, you string enough of those along, and then all of a sudden you find out one day that you're at your destination. You're at that place that God wanted you to be at. And of course, for the believer, that means eternity with Christ. So sometimes what our big problem is that I'm believing in God for a miracle, but what I'm imagining in my mind is that I get this miracle from God, and then I'll be happy and I'll be safe and I'll be secure, and I can just kind of rein my whole life in around this miracle that happened, and I don't have to ever be uncomfortable again, and I don't ever have to be in a difficult place again, because it's really hard to deal with this current difficult situation, and that's not God's will. It's never God's will to kind of have us hole ourselves into a little corral where we just, okay, I'm not leaving the corral anymore, because it's unsafe out there. I was out there and it was unsafe, and I needed a miracle for God to for God to intervene in my life, so that I could get out of all that awful out there. And so now I'm never going to take that risk again. Well, that's not what God wants. Because remember that God wants to spread his glory throughout the earth. And the tool, the vessel that he wants to use is you. It's, God could send angels to announce things in the sky. He's done that a couple of times, but not in general. God can use he could use all kinds of, he could have your 64 Buick talk. Whatever he wanted to do, he could do that. But what he wants to do is he wants to use you to glorify his name. He wants to use your mouth and your life to speak to a world that is lost, and either does not believe or will not believe on the name of its creator. And so we really have to keep that in mind when we study something like this. This is, for them to experience this miracle was not for their ease and comfort. It was so that they could be prepared for greater challenges down the road. And sure enough, that happened, because the very next part of this is going to be that they don't have any water, and then they're going to go to the place of the bitter water, and they're going to need another miracle to clear up the bitter water, so that they can drink the bitter water, so that they can go on another period of time without water, and again have to believe, and that God would eventually lead them to these springs. It's really a great spot, a really great place to stop along the way. But you can see where these events are meant to string along after each other, and we have whenever we get stuck, the divine intervention of God is there to move us forward. And so that is the message for today. And I'm actually thinking about, there's a little bit more out of all this that I want to talk about, that I found in another Bible, some notes in another Bible that I had from the past. So we may have one more round here at the end of chapter 15. But in the meantime, Vita brevis, gloria aeterna. Life is short. Glory is eternal. Have a great day.